Do you believe in miracles? Do you think you can create miracles, or do they just happen? Is it luck? Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't, but we really don't have much control over it. I don't know. For me, I think we have a lot of control over what we create in our lives, even miracles, even something that has no explanation of how it happened or why it happened. Doesn't always happen the way we want to, but there's some things we can do that can lay the foundation for the creation of miracles to happen and increase the possibility. See, a miracle happened for me and my daughter and my husband when she was just 8 weeks old. She was born at 25 weeks, weighing only 1 pound, which in itself, she survived. That was a miracle. And she was plugging along the first 8 weeks of her life, doing really well. Doctors were really pleased with her progress. And then at week 8, doctors called us in and said, "We have a problem." They told us she had developed an infection in her intestines that is very common in micropremies called NEC, NEC. And it was one of the worst cases they had ever seen. In fact, they looked at her x-ray and said, "It's a black box in there. We can't see any healthy intestine at this time, and we give her less than 5% chance of survival." Oh my gosh, that was devastating. We were shocked. We were shocked. Those first 8 weeks, she was eating and sleeping and growing, and everything looked good for her prognosis of going home by her original due date in March. And yet here we were, another challenge. Even after she had survived being born 1 pound, 8 weeks in, and here she was, struggling for her life again. It was devastating. And we picked ourselves up and we said, okay, we've gotten this far. And she's gotten this far. And just like 1 or 2 weeks before this happened, a friend of a friend asked to visit me in the NICU and pray over Isabella. I said, sure, why not? Come on in, she's doing great. And what that woman told me changed how I focused when she got NEC. She told me, don't put all your faith in what the doctors tell you. First, look to what God says about your daughter. And so when Isabella got NEC, and I recalled this conversation with this woman, I said, okay, what does God say about my daughter? And the words of Myrtle Fillmore from the Unity movement came to mind. Myrtle healed herself from tuberculosis by doing mantras and visualizations. It was, with God, all things are possible. And Isabella is a child of God, made whole and perfect in his image. Every single cell of her body is filled with divine and holy light. There is no sickness in her. From there, I grabbed onto that mantra and I visualized and I said, okay, we're going to take this mantra and we are going to visualize the outcome we want, which for this situation was Isabella pooping. Because when you have an infection in your intestines, food could not get through. And so all feeding had to stop and they had to start feeding her intravenously because her intestines were sick. And we told everybody, who was like, okay, we believe God can heal, period. We believe in miracles. And we want you to hold a common vision for us and our daughter. We told nurses, we told visiting guests, we told our family members. And my husband and I held this vision of Isabella pooping. And we always got a good chuckle from it. And it kind of lightened the situation, which was also necessary to stop worrying. So we had to let go of the worry and let go of whatever the outcome was going to be. We had our mantra, we had the visualization, and we would go inside and we would do them. And then one day, just a couple days after she had gotten sick, her nurse said, I know it's a little dangerous, but I think she needs to be on her mama's chest again. And that's called kangarooing. They do that with the preemies and mamas and fathers to get skin-to-skin contact, to foster that bond and help in the healing process, because they want to be inside the tummy, not outside the tummy still at that age. And so she said, I'm going to put Isabella on your chest again. And that was music to my ears because I missed her being on my chest. The first 8 weeks were just amazing. Having her there and just laying there for like hours sometimes as she and I just like synced our heartbeat and our temperature together. And yet, when her nurse put her on my chest, and I get a little teary-eyed every time I talk about this, I started my mantras. With God, all things are possible. And Isabella is a child of God, made whole and perfect in his image. And as I was there holding her, feeling her, I fell asleep. And as I was drifting to sleep, I had a vision. I had a dream. And it was Christ operating on her body, operating on her. And he removed a little piece. And as he finished in the operation, he looked up and he nodded to me. And I jolted awake. In that moment, I jolted awake. And I was like, what just happened? But I felt something different. As soon as that was done, as soon as I had that dream, I knew everything was going to be okay. I knew that Isabella was going to survive this. And I didn't have any reason or explanation from a physical sense or a scientific sense. It was all just knowing inside of myself. And I just thanked Christ and I thanked God for that vision, but I didn't tell anybody because I was like, oh, people are going to think I'm crazy. People are going to think I'm woo-woo. And so I kind of kept it to myself. But day after day, she started making this miraculous recovery. Doctors couldn't explain it. They're like, we don't know what's happening, but we're going to give it 6 weeks and see how her intestines are, take an x-ray and see if she still needs surgery. But she kept getting better and better and better. At the end of the 6 weeks, they still took an x-ray. Her gut looked a whole lot better. They said only a small piece of her intestine is still blocked. She is okay for surgery. And she has a really good prognosis now. Oh my gosh, music to my ears. But I have to tell you, even going into that surgery, I mean, she's 3 pounds at the time. And going into that surgery, I was a little afraid. And I called my friend the night before and I said, oh my gosh, what if we get to all this point and here she is on the surgery table and then she dies? And then, I'm anxious, I'm worried, I'm scared. I remember my friend who's very compassionate, but at the same time, very grounded. She said, Kim, yeah, that could happen. She could live and she could die. You have no control over it. Your only job is to love her. And when she said those words, it calmed me and my worry went away. And she made it through the surgery. Awesome. Only a little piece of her intestine had to be removed, which is a part of it that had no impact on her growth or her digestion. And we were just so thankful that we had just witnessed a miracle over the last 6 weeks. So I'm here to tell you, miracles do happen. They're not guaranteed. There was no guarantee that that was going to be the outcome. But at the same time, I've been looking at what happened to bring us to that point. And what were the pieces that I was responsible for to set the foundation for a miracle? And that's when it really occurred to me. Holding a vision, believing and having faith, and being grateful, being thankful, even before the vision and miracle occurs. I believe that's available to all of us. Believing is sometimes the hardest part, believing anything's possible. So I have a new mantra sometimes that I even in business, in my career, in relationships, and all of it, it is living in the 5%. Who cares if you have a 5% prognosis or 1% or a 10%? It doesn't matter. It matters how you respond to it, how I respond to all the challenges that come in the future. And I am determined to live in that 5%. that 5% is still a chance. Set your mantras. Know what you want. Believe that it is possible. Faith. Turn it over and say, this is yours, God. I'm turning over this whole situation and letting go of the worry. Because when you let go of the worry, it leaves room for God to actually work and do the miracle. Or wherever miracles come from. You could have any kind of belief of where miracles come from, or any belief about God and the universe, and it doesn't matter. That's just my terminology that I use because I come from a Christian background. But I know that God creates miracles, the universe creates miracles, not just for Christians or people who believe in Christ. A lot of Christian people are not going to hear me say that. Miracles are available to everybody. God is available to everybody because God created all of us, no matter our background or religion, and loves all of us and wants the best for all of us. No exceptions. So, I believe you can create a miracle. I believe I can create miracles. Let's go create some miracles together. There's a whole bunch of miracles that are needed in this world right now, with all the stuff that's happening with wars and politics and weather and you name it. We need a few miracles down here. What would happen if we started believing that we actually had an impact and some level of control over creating something new, something different, something from a space of love and hope and acceptance and joy? I just get excited thinking about it. So, with that, go create your miracles and have a fabulous day. Much love.